Unfortunately, it's the final segment tonight, but don't worry, Mark. We'll be on again up into the Free Your Mind Conference, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, April 10th, 11th, and 12th, freeyourmindconference.com, the website. Mark, we have a call here, and, I wasn't planning on taking calls, but I think this is going to be a great discussion, and I want to bring on Ray Karczewski. Ray, Mark was telling me a little bit about you. Go ahead and introduce yourself, and welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Bob. As you know, I'm a retired police sergeant from Pacifica, California, the department in the Bay Area of San Francisco. And I was a sergeant in the 60s. This is almost 44 years ago. And times were different at that point. I worked for a moral chief of police whose name was Neil Tremaine. This man allowed a free rein to people to use judgment. There was very little orders given at that time. I must say that I am not, and I was never an order follower. I was trained, like all cops are trained in the academy, but I also had within me the spirit of following God's law, which is do no harm. If there were harm involved, a victim involved, a crime involved, I did my job. In some ways, I was ignorant of statutory law, and I participated in that for a time. But basically, I rose through the ranks rather rapidly. In 3 years, I made sergeant, and I remained that for 5 years until my philosophy of do no harm was having an effect upon, I was a training officer, and I was having an effect upon the people that came into the business. And I must say that I was surrounded by people who were order followers. And so a natural conflict began to arise, but as I say, I did my job. I was rather popular in the community, and they would have difficulty in firing me. Now, I had a back injury, so they used that to force me into a retirement. Good cops don't last long. They're moved out under many pretenses, such as I was. I did not want to retire at the time, but as I say, I was in a position where I had a family to support, and I did what I had to do. But I was never put in a position of compromise where I had to follow somebody's order. So it can be done, Mark. I agree with everything you have said, however. I do not dispute a thing. All order followers are Satanistic individuals who operate by remote control. Now, I'm not a religious man, and that may strike some as interesting, because I believe that all men, I do not believe, I assert that all men who are simple men and women of truth are Christs. That's all a Christ is. So we are all potential Christs if we follow God's law of do no harm. But we are inundated with the mind control effects of conditioning that are brought on by our educational system, by the satanic government, by the satanic schools, the media, this type of thing. So we all rely upon the letter of the word, and that letter can be twisted. That's the nature of legal profession. That's Satan's profession. But good men and women must live under those circumstances until they rise above that detrimental conditioning and rise to the non-dualistic point of truth, where they are one with truth, one with God, and one with no harm. That's the lesson of life. That's what I do at this point. For the last 44 years. I'm 77 now, and I write quite a bit on the internet. My forte is writing. I do not engage in a great deal of speech because in writing I can formulate the concepts in black and white, and they are very difficult to twist and turn. But nevertheless, they have been attacked since I've been on the internet. Now I find that Mark is a remarkable man. He is able to indicate the truth in a forceful, clear, and decisive manner. So he sounds forceful to people, but that's what the truth is. The truth will stand regardless of the opposition to it. The political aspects of our lives that govern the control of men and women in their mindsets is all Satanist.
Amazing commentary, Mark. Ray, your words are beautiful, and I just want to say thank you for offering them, and that you've been a huge influence to me in my awakening in the past. I remember your podcasts of years ago, and I would listen to them intently and get a lot of information from them. And you speak the truth, and I like your concept of what a simple man or woman of truth is truly. They are Christ in this world, and that's all. That whole concept of higher level of consciousness should be looked at as not something to be worshipped and followed, but something to be an example, to be in the world, to be that light for other people, to take example from, and to essentially emulate as far as the morality of their decision-making processes go. And, I want to thank you for putting those kind words out there, and I want to thank you for doing the work that you've done over the years to awaken and enlighten other people.
We're in it together, Mark.
That's right.
I have more than 100 YouTube videos that I'm, at this point, I've written a few articles on the internet, and referring to them as the, it lose my mind now what the title is, and the Gospel of Ray the Christ. Now, that may be offensive to Christians, but in my view of what a Christ is, as a simple man of truth, we must shatter the satanic images that have made us into slaves to images of words, and begin to see that we are the savior of our own lives. And so these more than about 145, I think, YouTube videos are on my site, arkenterprises.com, and I would suggest that we're in a very bad bind at this point with the New World Order, the satanic New World Order, trying to force itself upon us.
Yes.
We hold the power in our hands, each of us. We give that away. We waive our rights. We consent to being a member of an organization wherein we must follow the dictates of that organization. Well, that's a corporate government, which is not government at all, but a corporation. And we are enslaved by the rules of that corporation. Each of us can break loose of that anytime we want, because we are living, breathing, flesh and blood, sentient, natural men and women. The corporate state does not have any jurisdiction over living men and women. It only has jurisdiction over the juristic person, which is the name spelled in all capital letters, as is found on the birth certification.
Yep. Ray, it sounds like you need to be one of our speakers at the Free Your Mind conference. Mark, thank you so much. Ray, thank you. Coming up next, Clint Richardson, the Corporation Nation. What a great lead into that. I'm sure he follows many of the sentiments that were just mentioned, and he'll be a speaker at the Free Your Mind Conference. So I can't plug it enough, folks, freeyourmindconference.com, and thank you so much for listening to tonight's Bob Tuscan Show.